This video is brought to you by Squarespace. When it comes to websites, online stores, etc., there's no place to build a beautiful online presence like Squarespace. For years, literal years, I have had Air Bud Video in my notes as an idea, but there has been something about this collection, company, and character, I don't know what to call it, that has intimidated me to death. Probably because the more I wait, the more I learn, and the more I learn, the more I realize how many goddamn Air Bud movies there really are. No, not just Air Bud, I'm talking Air Buddies, I'm talking Snow Buddies, I'm talking Primates, monkeys, pup stars. Air Bud is more than a dog that can shoot hoops. It's an empire, and I want to dive into it. I want to experience the weirdness from every angle. Why? I don't know. Now, I think it is an absolute headache to attempt to watch all of these movies and cover it in a single video. I'm not one of those long video guys. I'd rather be a trilogy guy. So we're going to be doing that. So with that said, welcome to part 1 of Karsten Runquist's Air Bud Budathon, where I attempt and, well, succeed to watch every single Air Bud movie. I'm already losing my mind and we haven't even started the video. So you know what? Let's get into it. The first Air Bud was directed by Charles Martin Smith. If that name rings a bell, it's because a few years ago we talked about the trailer to his film A Dog's Way Home. It is one of the worst trailers of all time. I understand he was not a part of the trailer, but still. Charles Martin Smith says in an interview with Newsweek that he is not a huge dog lover. So, okay. This movie dropped in 1997, the same year I was born, so in a way, I am Air Bud. And Air Bud tells the story of a pup who used to be with a terrible alcoholic circus clown, which I guess is supposed to be the reason he's so good at sports. He's a circus dog. And when the clown loses him, the pup gets hit by a car, and in that car is Josh. Josh later discovers that this dog sure can shoot baskets, and the rest is history. This will come as no surprise to anyone, but Air Bud is the best Air Bud movie, which is not to say it's a good movie, but it's certainly the best of the bunch. In that same interview with Newsweek, Charles Martin Smith describes how he'd only sign on to direct the script if he were allowed to rewrite it and make this a heartwarming story between a boy and a dog. He states, "I worked with the screenwriters and we completely revamped the script to make it more of an honest boy and his dog relationship movie." And I don't know, when I click on Air Bud, I want to see a dog perform some crazy tricks, not a loving relationship. And this is an issue so deeply rooted in this franchise that will make a little bit more sense down the line. But all of that said, regardless of if it's a good idea or not, Air Bud does have the heart. Josh is really going through it. I mean, he's just this little boy and they assign him as equipment manager as he's grieving over his dead dad. I'm just like, oh my god. And weirdly enough, although I would prefer a movie of strictly Air Bud being Air Bud, I think this film, more than anything we talk about moving forward, incorporates the dog playing sports thing into the story pretty seamlessly. Because, I mean, yeah, a dog that plays basketball would lift you out of an intense depressive period. Of course it would. So yeah, Air Bud is a family classic, and maybe it deserves that status, but the real question is, where do we go from here? Air Bud Golden Receiver has it all. A football-playing dog, a shitty father-in-law, another circus. Air Bud Golden Receiver, one of the best titles we're gonna see in the entire series, is the sequel to Air Bud, released only a year later. Its tagline is "Just Dog It," whatever the hell that means. Something to note about this film is that Buddy did not reprise his role as Buddy, because he died. Genuinely kind of upsetting to think about. Don't know why I decided to bring this up in this video, but let's get some RIP buddies in the chat. I also learned that the dog in this film is actually played by 4 separate dogs. I just hope all those dogs know they could never do the things that Buddy did. I wouldn't say this is a terrible film, to be honest, and that may just be speaking on behalf of this film in the context of the entire series, because this exists somewhere in between the fun family classic that is Air Bud 1 and the strange, unnecessary milking that is the next 3 movies. Golden Receiver is simply a sequel, and all it really wants to say is, hey, what if this fool could play football too? If anything, I think it embraces the absurdity of this whole Air Bud thing. Just look at how chaotic this first scene is. I feel like I'm on cocaine, and the main villains of the film are Russian circus people who are trying to steal back Buddy to use him in, well, the circus, and I think they're fun, and in the world of Air Bud villains, who we will come to learn are all the exact same, the thick Russian accents make these guys pretty entertaining. Not to mention Patrick, Josh's new dad, because remember, Josh's dad died. The thing about this movie is that it's kind of just Josh working through why he can't control his mom's life, because as soon as his mom starts hanging out with Patrick, Josh gets so upset about it that he joined the football team. I mean, you gotta be pretty down bad to join the football team. And it's like, yes, she lost her husband, but man, let her get through this how she needs to get through it. I feel like we would feel for Josh a little bit more if Patrick came off kind of creepy or weird, or if he were ugly, but if I'm being completely honest, seems like a nice guy. And as for Buddy, I feel like this movie stands apart from the others in that it makes sense that Buddy would be good at football, seeing as though He's a dog. Dogs love carrying around balls, and obviously he's gonna get pretty far because who the hell is gonna tackle a dog? That's what you think, at least. And then that literally happens. Some dude just absolutely obliterates Buddy. Everything's going so well, they score a touchdown and they're all rubbing around in the grass, and now all of a sudden Buddy is injured. It hurts, man. Really sucked watching that happen. But anyway, I think that's all you gotta say about Golden Receiver. The film was a financial and critical failure, so you wouldn't think they'd keep going, but believe it or not, yet again, if these films are mastering anything, it's film titles. World Pup, get out of here. World Pup is a different kind of beast. It's the kind where the dog doesn't really feel like a major part of the film until way into the film, and this is where I start getting pissed at Charles Martin Smith for demanding they take these films seriously and build this human element in them, because truly, we do not care about these guys. This one follows pretty much the exact same story. Josh is going through something, he joins the soccer team isn't doing well, but once Buddy joins, they start to do well, but some people want to steal Buddy, the other soccer teams and officials think Buddy can't play soccer, they work their way out of it, and then they win the big game. That's every single Air Bud movie. I hope I've made that clear by now. But this time, there are British people. And no, I wouldn't normally specify if there are British people in a film or not, but this film wants you to notice it. This girl from London, I think, moves into this town, and Josh immediately has a crush on her, so much so that he can't even look at his mom and his sister when he first sees her. Like, this man is down catastrophically bad, but not as bad as her British accent.
Sorry I'm late, first day of school and all.
It's gotta be one of the worst British accents I've ever heard in not only a movie, but in life. It's hilarious. I apologize on behalf of all my British fans when I say this film did you so dirty. Also, this is the third time they've changed actresses for Josh's mom. I personally think that's just kind of funny. It really opens up a different philosophical question of how the people around you change the older you get. So this one is about soccer, if you couldn't already tell. Why soccer? I do not have the answer to that. I don't know why this hasn't been a bigger thing before this, but I think this movie really prioritizes the legality of what Buddy is doing here. Because I think by now, on our third sport, it's become evident that it is simply unfair that Buddy is allowed to play these sports and participate in the games. Because the dude is an absolute beast at everything he touches. And this film finally addresses that, sort of, by bringing the chairman of the soccer committee into the picture and saying, hey, Buddy cannot do this. But then a kid on the team is like, Dad, but no, and they let him back in, and that's the end of that. He lets him back in, and Buddy wins the game. Now, an important thing to note about this movie is that this is where we are introduced to the buddies. The same way Josh falls in love with Tammy, Buddy falls in love with her dog, and at a party, they make some babies. And I won't lie, that's the scene that made me really emotional. It's truly a beautiful moment. Everybody seems so happy. Everything in this film ends up pretty standard and predictable. The babies get stolen, Buddy comes in and wins the game for everyone. What you don't see coming in this movie is the ending. The end of this movie is Buddy showing up at the FIFA Women's World Cup, playing for the US women's team, and winning the game with a penalty shootout. These women, who have trained their whole lives for this moment, trained years and years of soccer, are defeated by this dog, and this isn't even his only sport. All right, 7th inning fetch. Why not, right? This is where I start getting angry. I hate this movie. This movie is the worst. And you know what? This more than anything I was looking forward to, because it's baseball, for Christ's sake. How the fuck is a dog going to play baseball? Look at the header. What could happen in this movie? And you know what? Hilariously enough, they do what I should have seen coming miles away. The dog doesn't play baseball. I mean, he does, but he barely plays baseball. It takes fully like half an hour before we even remember baseball is a part of the movie. And that's only when the two girls, yes, Josh is out of the picture at this point. Bye, Josh. When the two girls decide to join the baseball team. I think that's funny because it's like essentially the exact same plot as the earlier movies, but replace Josh with his sister because Josh is too old now. And most of this movie is literally about the girls playing baseball and dealing with their own issues, not about the dog playing baseball. What I will say is Andrea is definitely more interesting than Josh, definitely less of an asshole, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is, Air Bud is barely a part of this. A majority of this movie is spent with these guys going around with their raccoon sidekick, who, quite frankly, is a lot more interesting than Air Bud, and they're just stealing each of the buddies individually. The funniest one, by far, is where one of them is just playing basketball with a random group of guys, and I think it's funny to think that in this world, these guys just meet up to play basketball and somehow communicate with the dog to meet them there at a certain time, and the dog just shows up dressed in a jersey and just hangs out with them like he's one of the boys. It is phenomenal. best part of this entire series, to be honest. This one is directed by Robert Vince, a human golden retriever, and he is responsible for the writing on pretty much every Air Bud movie to ever exist. I think he may be the owner of Air Bud Productions, I could be wrong. And I really wanted to find something silly about him, something kind of embarrassing besides his filmography, but from what I've read, he seems like a genuinely kind guy who just has a passion for making family films. And to that I say, good for you, Vince. Congratulations. But all that aside, I think he directed the second worst Air Bud film, and I can't believe I have to watch the rest of his filmography down the line, because they tease us plenty with Air Bud tossing a ball around and whatnot, but it is genuinely not until the 53-minute mark that Air Bud actually comes out and plays, and it really isn't even worth it. It's not that great. I'll give the other movies credit, especially the first one. It looks damn cool when he's shooting those hoops with his nose, but here it just looks bad. The pooch is barely swinging the club. As you can tell, they're kind of running out of sports. Maybe Air Bud wasn't meant to be good at literally every sport under the sun, but again, that's what they want you to think, because boy oh boy do we have. Air Bud Spikes Back is regarded by many in the Air Bud fandom as being one of the better Air Bud movies, and I do not see that at all. Let's make one thing very clear. He never spikes back. He never spikes the ball in the movie. Air Bud Spikes Back starts like any other Air Bud movie. The blue sky with the clouds, the welcome to Fernfield sign where everything is possible. And with an opening credits roster that makes me think there were no real people involved on this movie. We have Eddie with 1D, McClurg, Robert Tinkler, and then we have Jake Smith, which just seems like a fake name by someone who exists only in the Air Bud universe. Air Bud Spikes Back is not too different from these other films, as in the act of him playing the sport of volleyball does not happen until like 40 minutes deep. And may I remind you, the film is fully 80 minutes long, which, can I just say, felt like the longest 80 minutes of my life. Andrea's actress is replaced by Katija Pevek, who delivers just a terrible performance. I genuinely don't think she delivered one line in the way it was supposed to be delivered. And then there's her little brother in the film, Noah. I want him gone. I hope I never have to see this kid in a movie again. He doesn't even deserve to be in these movies. It's like the kind of kid who acts like he's 40 years old, but I'm like, you're not 40, Noah. You're not. You're a child, and with that kind of diet, you're going to die. Josh does not even bother showing up in this movie. Literally, in the story, his reasoning is that he just wants to stay at college that summer to play football. It's like, he does not even want to be a part of this. It's like so much of what is going on here revolves around Andrea trying to figure out where she wants to live, Noah eating candy, Josh not being there. It's clear that the movie and the characters do not give a shit about Buddy the dog anymore. The freaking villains aren't even concerned about the dog in this one. They're committing other crimes, and Buddy and this stupid fucking parrot are trying to save the day. I'm like, nobody cares about you guys. Like 10 minutes into this movie, there's a heist scene at a museum that does not involve a dog, and you're like, is this still Air Bud? What I think would have been a better idea and a better conclusion to the Air Bud series is if Buddy learned Josh was staying at school and he decided to start competing in volleyball so that they could make the national tournament or whatever, and that tournament takes place where Josh goes to school or something. Like a little journey that Buddy has to go on to go to Josh, and then they have this like moment together, you know? That way, maybe there's a drive for Buddy to be better at volleyball. That way, volleyball is at least a part of the plot. Jesus. Feel exhausted. The funny thing about this video is I never specified if we were going in chronological order or if we were going from best to worst, but either way, I feel like the list would have been the same. The original Air Bud 1, as you can tell by now, is a family classic. A wacky tale about a dog who can play basketball and also apparently cures depression. But Air Bud Spikes Back, on the other hand, is a complete lie, a scam, a disaster, an embarrassment for everyone involved. I might even go home to my dog and blame him for this. I don't care he wasn't part of it. All dogs are to blame. And you know what? I think I'll leave it there for today. The Air Bud movies had a good run, but of course, if you can't already tell, they got pretty stale. I'm just glad they didn't keep God damn it. Before you get out of here, I gotta thank this week's sponsor, Squarespace. Now, Squarespace, if you didn't already know, is a place where you can go to build that brand of yours. Maybe that brand is an empire of dog movies where the dog plays sports. It's a great place to go if you want to progress your brand to the next level, whether that be through a blog, an online store, a portfolio, you name it. They have a wide array of award-winning designer templates that'll help make that website look fantastic, and they have 24-hour customer service to walk you through any issues you run into. The best part about it all, though, is that if you go to squarespace.com/Karsten, you can get 10% off of your first purchase. So really, there's no reason not to give this place a shot. So thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.